Hey everybody, it's Dina Rica with the Creativity Cave, and look at these super cute projects I have to share with you today. I love them and I hope you're going to love them as well. I am featuring one of our new celebration stamp sets. Amazing phrasing. Isn't this super cute? So we've got the large words and then a whole bunch of words that will mix and match within these words. So I'm really loving this set. So we're going to start making the card, and then I will show you how I made the tag for this lollipop. I bought this at a store when I was with my sister in downtown Chicago this spring. It's called It's Sugar, and it was a really cute store. And they just had like all kinds of candy. And I love this look of lollipop. I just think it's so cute. It reminds me of like going to the fair and wanting to win one of those at the rides and stuff in the summer. So I just really love that. Okay, so for this card, we are going to do a little watercoloring. Now, the watercoloring is not difficult to do, and absolutely zero skill is required. So I think it's important to remember that when we watercolor. I'm going to tell you the biggest important part of watercoloring is to use the right paper. So this is our Fluid 100 watercolor paper in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. By the way, all the supplies I'm using, you can shop the links in the description of this video from my online store. And I'm going to use a really cool color combination, which is Orchid, Oasis, Coastal Cabana, and Parakeet Party. Now, when you watercolor, you can kind of do two methods. You can either squeeze the ink pad to the lid and then the color shows up there, or you can do kind of what I'm going to do. I'll show you, which is easier to do if you struggle with hand strength. So I know sometimes it's hard for people to squeeze that ink. So I'm going to start by taking a water painter brush, and really the medium or the large wash brush work really well for this. And I'm just going to take and add some color, and I'm going to pick up the color in kind of a creative way. I've got some clean blocks here, and I'm just going to grab the color on my block like that. So I can color, or I can pick up the color right off of this. I don't want to dab my water brush into the ink pad itself because that will dilute the ink. And then when I go to ink it with my stamp, it'll look funny. So we don't want that to happen. Okay, so I've got my palette basically all set up. So I'm just going to kind of color on here like so, adding color. In between each color, I'm going to change, and I like to use my brush to make sure that I've squeezed all the color out. And then I'm going to pick up the next color and just kind of blob it on here. We're going to do a few different things to kind of mix up the colors and make it fun. And then I'll continue with my Parakeet Party. Got to squeeze my water painter to get the water flowing a little bit more. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And you can see the colors are kind of running already, but this is kind of boring. I mean, it's nice, but it's a little bit boring. So I want to make it a little more exciting. So what I'm going to do is pick up some more color and just kind of tap it on. I can also, just using my finger, tap my brush against my palette. And when I do that, I get the little flecks of color coming off. You can also see some of the flecks have created some interesting patterns on here. So I'm going to keep doing that with each color, and I may even repeat this process also. So I'm just flicking on the colors, and then they're kind of intermingling. Now, know that every time this happens, it's definitely going to be a different look. You're never going to get the same exact look each time. So, okay, now that I've got this kind of used up, I'm just going to wipe off the water in my rag, pick up a fresh batch, basically, of ink on here, and then I'm going to, I really want to make sure that this is, I'm getting some darker areas too. So there we go. And you can for sure go overboard with this process, but it's pretty fun to just add those colors. And as things dry, they don't disperse. They'll stay kind of in the little dots, but while the water that they sit on, like that they fall on, while that is wet, they will not keep their shape. They'll disperse out. So I can see that it's drier up here and it's still wet down here because they're dispersing. So it's an interesting little process. Now, if you still are just like, oh, I need more color on here, that's okay. We can add more color. We're just going to blend it in. Now, know that that's going to create some different, it's going to erase some of the things you've already done. And it can create some different lines. So we're just going to really go over that and make sure it looks good. Okay, I'm going to clean off my brush once again, and I'm going to get more ink because I really want this to be dark. Now, in case you thought like, oh, I just conjured all this up perfectly, I actually, on this one, struggled a little bit, to be honest. It took me a few tries to get it to the point that I liked it. So know that watercoloring is a lot of experimentation. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. Now, if you want, you can add more. You can stop. You can do whatever you want. But before I go on, I need to make sure everything's really nice and dry. So I'm going to use my heat tool to dry this off and make sure that nothing bleeds any further. Sometimes if you have a lot of water on here, it might move around, and that's kind of cool. You can see that happened right here is the water was getting pushed by my heat tool. But even those speckles out in the edges, we want to make sure those are dry so that they don't smear. The smearing doesn't always look bad, but it might not be what you want, or it could smear across what you do like and ruin it, so we don't want that to happen either. Okay, so that looks good. Now that this is dry, I'm going to come back one more time with that dark color. So I'm really getting all that ink loaded up on my brush. It's wet. I'm going to give it just one more little squeeze to kind of get the water flowing. And then I'm going to tap once again. And then now you can see those dots that are new are not bleeding. They're staying whole. Okay, so you can see like they're not bleeding. All right, so one last drying. But I also got a wet drop, and that left a mark right there. And actually, that's fine too, because I like that look. But everything we do, we want to make sure it's dry before we move on to the next step. And I really encourage you to, if you like watercoloring, to just give it a try. I also have, it's actually apparently like National Watercolor Month or something. I don't know. Someone made that up. I love it. But I have a watercolor event that I did not too long ago that's pretty awesome, that I think I might kind of revitalize a little bit here. So we'll see. Pay close attention. If you're not on my mailing list, definitely get on it. There's a link in the description of this video. Okay, now for our next thing, we're going to set that aside. We're also going to wipe down our surface because I'm sure some of those speckles got a little out of hand. And then next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my card. To do that, I need to emboss my sentiment. So I've got a little piece of black. This is about 3/4 of an inch wide, and I'm going to use the new embossing kit we have in the holiday catalog. It's got an embossing buddy, a tray, and a tweezers. That's pretty awesome. So I'm just gonna tap my embossing buddy on there like so. I'm gonna ink up my stamp in Versamark, and then I'm gonna stamp that right on here, and this is just the right size for my word. So we'll get that stamped on there. And then I'm gonna put my powder in here. Now the tray is actually for the powder, but I have stored my powder in these little containers for a long time. I think though the tray will come in really handy for other things like glitter or like heat and stick powder. I don't have that in a special container, so I can use that for those other things as they come up. Or I do have a couple powders where they're in a jar versus in a container because I don't use them as often, and so it's handy for those things. Okay, now here's where that tool is like amazing. So this is one of those tweezers where you squeeze it to open it. So I'm just going to hold it like this and then heat it like this. And I'm oh so happy about that. So it's really awesome for those things that you need to hold. It's also good for gluing things. So like if you were gluing layers together of little items, that's really helpful. Or if you needed something, like if you had a really tiny thing you were trying to adhere and you just need something that you can hold on to it, a little easier. These tweezers are great because they have a really fine point on the end and they're really strong. Like you can see it's not moving. So anyway, all right, so I heat emboss that with white and I love this. It's so cute. So on my sample, I'll show you. I had, and you can see the differences, like it's not exactly the same. I had UR over here, but now I want to put it where the U or the Y kind of hangs down over the end of this. So I'm going to kind of set this here and then I'm going to ink up my word. Now I'm going to use StazOn black because I really want it to be nice, vibrant black on top of that watercoloring. And so I'm going to just put that right over here. And that looks amazing. Amazing. All right, so I'll pop this up. And the pictures on my blog, by the way, are this one just because I didn't have the video shot when I had to get the blog post ready. But I just kind of like the placement of the Y hanging down. But actually, I do like it over here too. Oh, it's so hard to choose. Okay, now to put my card together, I'm going to use a half a sheet of my Orchid Oasis cardstock, which I have to say this is probably my favorite new in color, which is different. I thought for sure it would be like Tahitian Tide, but it's actually this Orchid. I love it. It works with so many other colors, which is really awesome. Okay, I've got a great color combo. Now, I wanted to put these 3 colors behind, but I already had my card base as Orchid Oasis, so I took Starry Sky, which is just a little bit darker, and then I'm just going to put those 3 layers on there a little off kilter. Pardon me, I have the hiccups. And this just creates kind of a fun background. And so I'm putting them a little bit, tucked and whatnot, like so. They don't have to be on there perfect in any way. And then I will go ahead and adhere this directly to my card. I'm putting kind of a good amount of adhesive on here because it's a watercolored panel and it does warp, or it has warped a little bit between the water and the heating and all the things. Okay, so that looks good. Now what I want to do is add some embellishments. And I think I've got some of these black matte dots. I've got like just a little sliver of a package left here. So I'm going to put some of those on here. Like that. Oh, how fun. Okay, I didn't actually put any on this one, so let's do a few on here. We also have one more little project to make, and that is a tag that goes on my lollipop. So we have a new set of dies that's part of a bundle called Celebrate with Tags. This is in the mini catalog. And one of the tags is this really cute tag. Now you can use it as a fold over tag like this, or you can cut those 2 tags apart and then use them as an individual tag like that. So fold over like this or an individual. I'm going to use the individual. And then in that set of dies is also, there's 2 hearts that are stitched, and I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to take this one and color it with the color left over on these blocks once again. So I'm just going to pick that up. And by the way, if these dry out, you just put a wet brush on them and you are good to go. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the color and just make a nice little watercolor. You see, there's no skill involved here. I'm just kind of slopping it on. And I'm careful not to mix the colors too much because I don't want them to be muddy. But the water helps them kind of just run into each other naturally. And then remember what I said about drying? I need this to be dry. So I'm just going to hold on to that with my little tweezers. And this way I don't have to burn my hands while I'm drying this little piece. And then it also doesn't blow away on my table and I lose it, which how many times has that happened to you? Like, oh my gosh, that is my life. So anyway, there is my little tag. Now in our amazing phrasing set is the word hey. So I am going to kind of make a little background with the word hey on here because it's fun. So I'm just stamping this a bunch of times on my cardstock like so. And then I'm going to pop up my heart right on top with a couple of dimensionals. And then I'm going to put some little dots on here, and then we'll tie it to our little lollipop. So, and then on here, you could add, like on the back, you could add some of the words from the set, the mix and match words on here. I'm just going to leave it plain, but got some white glittered organdy ribbon. And what I'm going to do is just loop this onto my sucker, whatever this thing is, lollipop. Oh my gosh. And then I put the 2 ends through, you know, so it's on my lollipop. Ooh, I pulled that a little wrong. It ripped my tag a little, but the bow will totally hide it, so that's okay. Whew. And then I just tied a bow with this ribbon, which I thought was kind of fun. And then we'll add a couple more of those dots to our heart. Oh, what did I do with my Take Your Pick tool? It was just here. Oh, here it is. I always know it's a good project when I lose stuff on my desk because that means I've been having fun. So how cute is that? So I hope you loved this video. If you have questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out, but let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a thumbs up, and don't forget I have a downloadable project sheet for these projects on my blog, and there's a link right here in the description. There's also a link that should pop up in the top for you as well at some point. So thanks so much for stamping with me today, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps with the YouTube, and I hope you have a great day. We'll see you soon. Bye.